Why has the topic of leadership gained so much prominence in recent years?
Uncertainty has become the new norm. In these times of instability, that structure, leadership matters the most. You also need to have direction.
Those things that you mentioned that exist now didn't exist back then?
Nowadays, I think authority comes from credibility. It's not about being the manager who is the leader, it's about whoever can influence us and inspire us to go on a certain direction.
I personally see some of the famous leaders and CEOs of companies like rock stars. They become like superstars.
Then it will cascade down. We need to look up and see the examples. They need to walk the talk. You need to show, not just say.
What do you personally value the most in good leadership?
Communicating with clarity, making sure there's transparency on what is going on, what are the decisions that are being made. There needs to be a lot of courage to protect people, to say the truth. Sometimes it hurts a lot to say the truth and to take responsibility when things go wrong.
What future do you envision, let's say, in the next 5 years for leadership?
Ooh, that's also a good one. I still see a lot of leaders that don't share information.
So the book in English would be Life Can't Wait. What exactly is the meaning behind this title?
Super proud to be the cover of a newspaper. They wrote, "Retirement cannot wait." No, you didn't get it. No, it's life that cannot wait. We all have two lives. The second one starts when we realize we have only one. For me, life can't wait. It's about taking control of everything that is within our life.
At what point did you realize that this could be a real plan for you and not just a dream?
Sure, you can't do it if you earn the minimum wage, for sure. That's why the first chapter of the book is about career. Is it possible for everyone? Yes, as long as you're willing to put the hours, as long as you're willing to put the effort. When you reach the moment where you have enough money to exit, to retire, you need a lot of courage to do it.
I know personal examples of people that they are the company, right? They are what they do. If you take that away, they're nothing, right?
And that's exactly the sentiment. If you take that away from me, I'm nothing.
So if I ask who is Rita Piçarra today, I need to make a thumbnail for this video, right? And I need to put your name there. And then below your name, what?
Retired at 44.
What do I do with that ambition? I want to be the best electrician in my company. What do I do?
Plan for it. It's about working smart, not working hard. It's not about how many hours you work. It's about deliver the right impact.
Who is more free? Those who earn a lot or those who need little?
I think people who have less are always happy because, humanly speaking, we are always eager for more.
Hello, Rita. Thank you very much for having the time to have this conversation with me today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's also my pleasure because you're very famous for everything that you achieved so far. So it's always a pleasure to have a guest with your dimension. And basically, if there is someone that don't know you yet, to help as a quick introduction. So you were Microsoft Portugal CFO before you decided to retire at the age of 44. Okay? And then since then, you became famous for this bold move to the point that you give conferences about this. And also you've wrote a book recently that you called Life Can't Wait in English, where you are inspiring people to achieve certain milestones in life that also would allow them to not work at a later age like everyone else, but also achieve financial independence and success in their lives and careers. And you will also be one of the keynote speakers at the Fórum de Líderes 2026 that will happen on March 4th in Lisbon. Is this a good summary, Rita, of your life so far?
I always, something that always amazes me is when I go to speak at conferences or attend podcasts like this one, when people actually say an outlook of all that I did and kind of summarize my life, I always get kind of embarrassed and a little bit awkward moment. But yeah, it does sum up what I've been doing and what I did and what I achieved. I'm proud of it. And it was a lifetime plan that was very successful, of course. And I think that's why people resonate so much with it, because I do think that a lot of people kind of ambition to do the same or have a dream to stop working at a young age still to enjoy life. That's why I think my story went so viral in Portugal.
So because this conference is about leadership, and you were also a leader back in the days when you worked at Microsoft, why has the topic of leadership gained so much prominence in recent years?
Oh, I thought we were going to go to easy questions. Okay, but we'll start with a hard one. Good. Okay, leadership. I think leadership has gained a lot of prominence because uncertainty has become the new norm. There's so much technology advancing and accelerating. We have artificial intelligence reshaping industries. We have remote work changing the way humans interact and the human dynamics. And I think people have started to ask, what do they want to do? And I think it's this whole dynamic in these times of instability that structure, leadership matters the most. It's even more than just structure. It's also direction, right? You need to have structure, but you also need to have direction. And that is leadership. Leadership gives you a structure, but also it points you on the same direction. So today we understand that strategy alone is not enough. We have culture, we have emotion intelligence, we have purpose for competitive advantages. And I think that's why leadership has moved from being just, I am the boss, so I'm a person who is hierarchically superior to you, to being more of a concept in humanity. We need to have leaders who probably are not managers. We need to have people who drive culture, who inspire people to go further. And I think that's why leadership has gained such prominence these recent years.
But if you look back like 10, 15 years regarding leadership, those things that you mentioned that exist now didn't exist back then. What changed?
Back 10, 15 years ago, leadership was about being the manager, was about authority. And authority came with a position, right? You got promoted to be a people manager, hence you were a leader or you had some time of authority. But nowadays, I think authority comes from credibility. We have moved from a command instruction to control, right? Do this, do that, this way, that way, to more of a influence and inspire style. So it's not about being the manager who is the leader, it's about whoever can influence us and inspire us to go on a certain direction. So if I think about younger generations, they like transparency, they like flexibility, and they like authenticity, which is something that in the past years, if we look at leadership, it didn't exist. The manager knew it all, they wouldn't share anything. It was all about what they were saying, and you need to do as you're told. Nowadays, when we think about remote, hybrid workforces, there's a lot less of micromanagement involving, right? Because people are not there. So you can't micromanage. It's just not something that you can do. And that's also something that came with the past leaders. There was a lot of micromanagement involved, and the young generations just won't tolerate it, for sure.
To micromanage on remote, unless you are asking every hour, what are you doing, whatever, right?
It's impossible, right? And I'm not even deviating the conversation to mental health and work-life balance and inclusion, because 10, 15 years ago, this wasn't even in the table, right? It wasn't anywhere we think about it. So it has for sure changed the way leadership happens in the companies. And I think it changed for better.
You mentioned that leaders nowadays, they are like try to influence people in a certain way or in a certain direction to achieve certain goals, etc. So I personally see some of the famous leaders and CEOs of companies like rock stars. They become like superstars in a way that their image, their behavior, whatever they say, it really influences like an actor or a singer. It's like the kind of lifestyle they imprint on other people. So I really understand what you say. I think I do understand what you say when you mention influence, the capability of a leader nowadays to influence people, to gather around people.
If you think about a rock star, and giving an example of what you just said, if I think about Microsoft and when Satya Nadella joined the company, right, there were three big CEOs of Microsoft. We had Bill Gates, of course, then we had Steve Ballmer, and then we had Satya. And when Satya joined, Microsoft was in, I would say, a big of a mess. We were derailing, we were losing focus, the stock wouldn't move up, the company needed a huge transformation, otherwise we would end up like a Blockbuster or a Kodak. And it was this shift transformation to the cloud, but at the same time, which completely changed the model of the company, the business model, but at the same time, there was a big shift in culture, and that was driven by one man alone. It was Satya, who came with a different mentality, with a way to inspire us to have growth mindset, to question, and to inspire others. And you were talking about superheroes, and when I think about superheroes and CEOs, for me, Satya was without any doubt one big example of him.
It always comes from above, or it must come from above.
Yeah. Then it will cascade down. But we need to look up and see the examples. They need to walk the talk. You need to show, not just say.
Mm-hmm. And these CEOs now, they show themselves a lot, right? They walk around, they go near you because they want you to feel it. And they're not hidden on a board floor somewhere that no one knows, in a headquarters.
Yeah. So, it's live, right? We are in social media, you have social presence. There's a lot of visibility on what you do. So you need to walk the talk.
And you can be like the CEO of the headquarters in the US, and people work for you all around the world, but you gather everyone on Teams and you display whatever is your attitude, image, behavior through a call.
Exactly.
So you are not an unknown person that no one knows who you are or where you are.
Exactly. And communication is a huge part of it. If we think back in the days, you would hear the CEO of the company talk maybe once a year in the big annual meeting of the company. When I left Microsoft 3 years ago, we had, talk to the CEO, we had conferences monthly. There's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of communication, there's a lot of flow of information to make sure there's a lot of transparency and clarity on the directions of the company, on the culture, on the decisions that are being made, so that the employees around the world are evolved and are, they have skin in the game also in the interest of the company and to make the company evolve.
What do you personally value the most in good leadership?
Communicating with clarity, making sure there's transparency on what is going on, what are the decisions that are being made, what is the direction that we want for the company. Even if there's incomplete information, the worst thing that I saw happening on my days as leadership is that you don't say anything. And if you don't communicate properly, a lot of noise in the system starts to build up and people start making up the answers for the questions that they don't know. And that is the worst thing that can happen in a company, because you don't want the radio carpet, as we say it in Portugal, the zoom zooms.
What are cooler conversations
to spread around the offices. So that for me, it's crucial that a good leadership demonstrates clarity on their communications, transparency on the decisions that they are taking. For me, it's without any doubt the number one. And I would say number two would be courage. There needs to be a lot of courage to protect people, to say the truth. Sometimes it hurts a lot to say the truth and to take responsibility when things go wrong. Because when you're a leader, people say that leadership is a very solitary role. Why do people say it's solitary? Because when something goes well, we give kudos, which means we prize the team, because it was a team effort and we collectively did very well. So congratulations to the team. When things don't go well, the leader takes the blame by themselves and they give, open chest. I assume responsibility. It didn't go well under my leadership. I am here to take the fault. And that takes courage to do. A boss, which is different than a leader, will distribute the fault to the team and will point fingers and will find the scapegoat. And that's not what we want. We want a leader that helps us and protect us and helps us grow. So for me, one of the biggest values that a leader should have is courage, without any doubt.
Mm-hmm. Considering your current view on leadership, what future do you envision, let's say, in the next 5 years for leadership?
Ooh, that's also a good one. Okay, for Portugal or for the world?
If you want to differentiate, we can do
it. I would say first for Portugal, I think there's a lot of things that need to change still in leadership in Portugal. I still see a lot of leaders that don't share information, right? That believe that knowledge is power in the bad sense of it. That if I have the information for me, then I'm the most relevant person in the team. Therefore, I'm not going to share it. Otherwise, they may fire me. That's the thought that a lot of managers still go through, and they don't pass the information along to their teams. And I think that really needs to change. Think about it. If you're an individual contributor and you have a manager just tells you and sends you orders to do something and doesn't share why we're doing it, where is it going to be used for, and what is the outcome, and what is the purpose, you will be demotivated. You won't have the same energy to complete the tasks if you have the agenda. If you don't know how that specific task will help you develop the competencies that you need to progress in your career, you won't be motivated. And so I still see a lot of that in Portugal. And I think that we still have to evolve, and there's a lot of change that needs to come. That's why conferences like the one that I'm participating, the Leaders Conference that I will be participating, it's one of the things that need to happen to open the eyes of the leaders to see there's a way that they can do better. There's a way that it has been proven that works better in companies, and that we need to transform.
The book that you wrote in 2025. So the book in English would be Life Can't Wait. What exactly is the meaning behind this title?
The title itself started because I appeared in the front page of a newspaper in Portugal called Jornal de Negócios. And they put the title, I had my picture, I was super proud to be in the cover of a newspaper. But the title that they wrote, Retirement Cannot Wait. And I thought to myself, no, you didn't get it. No, it's life that cannot wait, not retirement. And so that stuck with me. And when I got invited by Bertrand and Contraponto to write the book, we were brainstorming about ideas on the title of the book. And I said, you know what? I think I have the perfect title, Life Can't Wait. And for me, what it represents, more from where it came from, what it represents is the concept that, and it's actually the first of one of the first sentences that I have in my book. It's a sentence from Confucius, that philosopher from China. It says, we all have two lives. The second one starts when we realize we have only one. And that, for me, it's a very powerful concept, which is most of us, we spend our entire lives kind of on autopilot mode, and we don't really take control of our careers. We don't really take ambition by the hand, and we don't do a career development plan to try to ambition our dream job. We don't even think about what our dream job would look like. We take money for granted. We spend every penny that we earn in every single month. We don't plan for a future. We don't have an emergency fund. We don't think about work-life balance. We don't think about priorities that are non-negotiable. And so for me, the book is a strategy on how I achieved my dream of retiring early, but at the same time, how I achieved my job with the CFO of Microsoft, something that I planned for 13 years to achieve. It's also a book where I plan, where I share the plan that I made to achieve financial independence, which people think it's investing in crypto, as we were talking offline. It's about investing crypto and expecting to become rich overnight. It's not that. I'm talking about long-term investments. I'm talking about a retirement plan, retirement funds. I'm talking about investments in 20 years lifespan. So for me, Life Can't Wait, it's about taking control of everything that is within our life, being it our career, our finances, our family, and our well-being.
For those long-term investments that you mentioned, if I heard correctly, so if they are long-term, you need to start soon, right? You need to start early in your life. And let's confess, it's difficult. It seems impossible for most people to be able to retire at 44, right? At what point did you realize that this could be a real plan for you and not just a dream?
One of the questions that I get the most is, okay, but Rita, there's 4,000 people who earn the minimum wage in Portugal. How could those people achieve something like you? You say that anyone can do it. So how can they do it?
Good point.
Well, one thing is for sure, you can't do it if you earn the minimum wage, for sure, because the amount of level of money that you need to save and then invest needs to be bigger than that. That's why the first chapter of the book is about career. The title of the book, of the chapter is Ambition. But when we hear the word ambition in Portugal, we usually correlate it with greed, which is two different things. Ambition is about ourselves and answering questions like, what do I want to be when I grow up? When we're little kids, everyone asks it, right? And we say, oh, I want to be a firefighter and an astronaut and a ballerina and, I don't know, a scientist. But when we grow up and we finish college and we enter the job market, we forgot to ask and continue to ask, what do I want to be when you grow up? And so the first chapter of the book is about how to build, how to think about what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to achieve? Second, how can I get there? So make a career plan, make a competencies plan. What competencies do I need? How can I develop them? It's about being excellent. It's about learning to hear the feedback of our work, understand what they're saying, and implementing it on our day-to-day to be better, to be excellent, to get promoted. It's about the importance of having mentors in our life to help us develop. It's about immigrating. We talk about a lot in Portugal about all the young people in our country now exiting in search of better salaries, in search of more opportunities. And I talk about it in my book because I was abroad for 12 years. Mm-hmm. It's not a decision that everyone is able to do, but it's a valid decision. So the whole first chapter of the book is about career, developing our career, earning more money, being successful at what we do. And so for the people who still earn the minimum wage, I tell them, look, we need to go back to the ambition. You're earning the minimum wage. When I started my career, my first salary was 175,000 escudo. So 175 contos, which is less than 1,000 euros. I didn't come from wealthy families. I didn't get the euro millions. I come from a low class family from the suburbs of Lisbon in Serra das Minas, and I had to work my way up. So is it possible for everyone? Yes, as long as you're willing to put the hours, as long as you're willing to put the effort, as long as you make it your dream, you will achieve it if you work for it. So it's not just about the long-term investments. Of course, that makes a difference. But the first and foremost is about earning more money and saving more money. Because that's the other problem in Portugal is that people who start to gain more money, they automatically elevate their lifestyle, which means they're going to spend everything that they earn. It's like owning a company. We're a company. I need to generate profits. The money from my sales or my salary needs to be bigger than the expenses that I have in order for me to have profit. And that there's money at the end of the month. And that's the first concept of financial planning, which is most people don't take care of their money. If I ask everyone who is listening to us today if they know how much they've spent in food last month, I will tell you 10-15% of the people will have an idea. But this is crazy because we work 40 plus hours a week in order to get a salary, and then we don't dedicate 1 hour to understand where the money is going to. So this is very hard.
Financial education is a big problem, probably not just in our country.
Well, we're second to last, right? And in Europe,
in financial literacy. second to last. Okay.
Second to last, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. What was then the hardest decision that you had to make on your path to this financial independence?
Look, I started this journey because both my parents passed away in their 50s, and my father was 54, my mom was 59, and I decided when they passed away that I wanted something different from my life. I didn't want to work until the age of 66 or 67, which is currently the official age of retirement. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to enjoy life, because if it happens the same thing that happened to my parents and I passed away in my 50s, when would I have time to do all the things that we postpone for the age of retirement? It was a journey, right? I started this when I was 26. I always had a lot of ambition. So the first chapter, building my career was very much always within me since I was in 10th grade when I decided to become a financial auditor, which I did before joining Microsoft. I was in Deloitte. And so the ambition part was always part of my plan. I was always getting promoted. I was being excellent. I was getting more money. But the part about investments only came after I decided I wanted to retire early, because I needed money. It's the thing. When you decide you don't want a paycheck anymore at the end of the month, the money needs to come from somewhere else. So it needed to come from investments. And that's when I went to learn about investments and how to do it. And because my parents couldn't really teach me, because the concept of investment for my parents was about putting money on a long-term deposit or buying certificados de forro. And that's not truly an investment, I would say. I had to learn, and I had to read a lot and listen to a lot of, back then it wasn't podcasts, it was interviews about investments, and read books about it to understand what was this concept of buying stocks and how do I do it? Isn't it really just going to the casino, as we say in Portugal? What do you mean? So
SP 500 or something similar?
No, I started buying when I started investing. There wasn't really ETFs as we speak right now, so I never invested in ETFs. I did pick and choose, so I bought stocks that I liked, especially from tech companies. Started, of course, with Microsoft, and went to the competitors, and then deviated a little bit. But I started, and I'm heavy on tech. And then I also started investing in real estate. I own some property in Portugal that is rented either long-term or short-term, which is heavy also on my portfolio. I would say stocks 50% and real estate 50%. So in the middle of all this, the hardest decision, I don't think it was where to invest, on how to invest. Surprisingly, it wasn't that. It was when you reach the moment where you have enough money to exit, to retire, you need a lot of courage to do it. Because when I left Microsoft, and I hope people can understand this, when you work in a big technology company or any other company, you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. I would probably I introduced myself like, hey, my name is Rita Piçarra, I'm the CFO of Microsoft Portugal. It was like the full extent of my name. And when I decided to leave, I lost half of my name. But I also felt like I was losing half of who I was. And the big question in my mind was, am I still going to be relevant once I stop doing this? Can I still contribute to society? How am I going to be important? Because there's also a lack of status, even though I didn't notice it when I had it, because I have always been very down to earth, you still lose it. So, and then you miss it, which is strange.
I totally understand. And you come from a Big Four background, which is also a career company where I know personal examples of people that they are the company, right? They are what they do. If you take that away, they're nothing, right?
And that's exactly the sentiment. If you take that away from me, I'm nothing. And so I had to work with a psychologist to understand, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I still going to feel like I matter? And so it really helped me a lot. And for me, it kind of, there's a lot of therapy involved, okay? But summing it up, it's about finding a new purpose in life. And for me, I thought my new purpose would be, volunteering a lot and maybe teaching classes at a university. But then I recorded the other podcast that went completely viral. And suddenly my purpose in life changed slightly. I now, speak at conferences. I wrote a book. I still love it because it still encompasses two things that I love very dearly, which is helping people and public speaking. So I'm still very happy and I still feel I contribute to society. So at the end of the day, it worked out, but I had a lot of courage to give the step towards uncertainty, on the cliff. Okay, this I know how to do, and now I'm just moving forward to something that is completely new, and I don't know if there's a safety net to kind of catch me.
Thank you for the courage of also revealing that you had psychological help and support throughout the process. So if I ask, who is Rita Piçarra today?
I won't say I'm the CFO of Microsoft, even though most places where I'm publicly speaking, people say, so what do I write below your name? It's like, you can put book author, you can put retired at 44, you can put inspiring people. You don't need to put anything. Rita Piçarra is enough. But people immediately go to X, CFO, Microsoft Portugal. You're like, no, I never liked to be the ex of a boyfriend. I don't want to be the ex of a company now.
The ex is right. So you're touching the point here. So I need to make a thumbnail for this video, right? And I need to put your name there. And then below your name, what do I put?
Retired at 44.
Retired at 44.
I think that's what defines me the most. At least that's what resonates the most with people. If I say, hey, my name is Rita Piçarra, but then if I say, I'm the one who retired at 44, people are like, got it.
Tell the story, right? And
yeah, then I already know and I don't need to go, But for me, if you just write Rita Piçarra, I'm extremely happy. Let me just tell you a story. When I was young, I was very ashamed of my name of Piçarra because, if you take the of Piçarra, but
a bad word in Portuguese.
It is. And I even got red. But so I didn't use my name because I got made fun of when I was in high school a bit. And so when I got to college, and I was filling out my name, I was like, I'm going to change this. From now on, I'm not going to be Piçarra anymore so that people don't make fun of me. So I wrote Rita Alexandra Saraiva P. Done. Never again, I'm Piçarra. And then on the first class, the teacher was calling out the names of the students. And then he said, Rita Alexandra Saraiva P. What does this P stand for? And so I was in a big room full of students, first day in school, and I had to stand up and say, P stands for Piçarra, professor. And then everyone starting with a, and that for me was an aha moment because the teacher did something amazing. He said, what are you guys laughing about? Do you think there are the Silvas and the Santos of this life, like the John Does of this life, that are going to make an impact and are going to, contribute to society and are going to be relevant? No, it's people with powerful names like Piçarra. And on that moment, I'm like, Piçarra, whatever. And it's funny how the teachers can have this impact in your life. Mm-hmm. So I'm very proud to be Rita Piçarra. Of course, I'm a mother and I'm a wife and I'm a surfer and I'm a skater and I love to travel. And I am very happy to where I am today. So I think Rita Piçarra is very much enough.
Thank you for sharing again that personal moment and allow me to share one. So my surname is Silva. So I contradict your theory of achievement. People that achieve things, they need to have.
But it was my teacher, it wasn't me.
Okay, it was your teacher. So I hope that I can contradict your teacher one day as well. It's very interesting how you start all this logic of retiring at 44 by, hey, first of all, you need to work out your bases, have some kind of ambition, try to move forward from where you are that don't allow you to save that money. If you would give an advice to someone that wants to grow within an organization, but without sacrificing their personal life, without having to work 10 of hours per week, without having to work their full life in a company to achieve that level, what would you give in terms of advice?
Okay, I talked about ambition. everyone needs to have ambition. And your ambition can be, I want to be the best electrician of my street. Fine.
What do I do with that ambition? I want to be the best electrician in my company. What do I do?
Plan for it. You need to do two types of plans. One, plan for competencies. What competencies do you need to have to be the best electrician of your street? You don't know? Talk to someone who is the best electrician of their street to understand what are the competencies that you need.
Mhm.
List them. Now make a plan to develop each one of them. Is it to shadow the best electrician of the other street? Is it to work for a couple of years in an electrician company to understand how to do it? Is it to do a course? Is it to do, I don't know, a mentoring? What is it that you need to do to develop all those competencies? Then the second thing that you need to do is plan your career. For each level of, you're going to start as an assistant to electricity. I don't know what are the levels, but as an assistant to electricity, as a cable something, and then finally you're the best. How do you move for which one of these steps? How do you get promoted? What takes to make you move? One of the things that is going to be transversal to all of them is to be excellent. The other day I was reading an article on LinkedIn about two people who worked in a company. One had been there for 3 years and the other one had been there one couple of months and had just been promoted. And so the one that had been there the longest was super upset because it had been there for 3 years and never got a promotion. So the person went up to the manager and asked, look, I don't understand, been here so long, no promotion. He said, you don't understand, here's 5 years, go outside, buy me bananas. The person comes back and says, look, there's no bananas, here's the €5. Okay, don't worry. Sit down and observe. Calls the person who had recently been hired and just got promoted. Hey, said the same thing. Here's €5. Go outside and buy bananas. The person comes back and says, look, I am truly sorry. Today they only have oranges, tangerines, kiwis, and melons, but they don't have bananas anymore. But I have here the phone number of the vendor that provides the bananas. If you give me a couple extra minutes, I will call them and understand if they provided any other shop in the area, or if I can meet them if they still have bananas. And the manager said, that's okay, you don't need to. Thank you so much, you can leave. Turns to the other person and says, do you understand the difference? It's not enough to do the minimum or the mediocre side of the job. You need to be excellent. You need to go the extra mile to solve the problems. And so for me, it's crucial always in our career, in our jobs, to be excellent, to go the extra mile. Because if we want to get promoted, if we want to climb the corporate ladder, if we want to get sponsors, we need to be excellent. So for me, that is without any doubt crucial. Now, sacrificing our personal life, because you need to be excellent. Sometimes people think that the more I work, the more I'm going to get. No, it's about working smart, not working hard. And for that, we need to make unnegotiable choices in our careers and in our lives. Sometimes we need to contribute to the company. You know, when I was CFO, there was weeks where I had to do budget, where I had to do forecast. And I immediately knew that all these weeks would be hell on earth. I would work extra hours. I would be very stressed. It was going to be all about contributing to the success of the company. Mm-hmm. But knowing that and knowing exactly what weeks that was going to happen, I would plan ahead and after of time for myself. And I would plan time for my family, for my daughter, for my husband, in order so that I could feel a sense of balance within a month or within 2 or 3 weeks. 1 week was for them, 1 week was for me and my family. It was also about, for instance, I am a hyperactive person. I don't know if I have ADHD or not. I've never been diagnosed. When I was little, people said that we had bichos carpinteiros no corpo. That was the definition of ADHD, I believe, when I was small. But I do have, I have hyper focus, so I can focus very much on something that I'm doing and the world can collapse around me. But I also have a lot of energy, so I need to spend my extra energy. And I understood very early in my career that if I wanted to be successful and if I wanted to focus, I needed to burn that extra energy. And so what I did was I blocked my lunchtime. And during my lunchtime, I would go to the gym because that's the way I spent my extra energy so I could focus clearly in the afternoon and I would be more productive. And if we understand what our body needs and what we need as a person, we will be better for ourselves and we will be better employees. One of the things that was a priority for me that I established also was after being a mother, of course, my daughter became a big priority in my life. So making sure that I had time to go pick her up in nursery, in school, was a big priority for me. So I had to talk with my manager and talk with my leadership team back then to understand and to make them understand that was a priority for me. And if they wanted me to be successful in my professional life, my personal life needed to be balanced also. And that for me was a priority.
That's amazing. Picking up kids at school when you are like high level financial executive on a company like a Microsoft, that sounds like an impossible thing to do.
Yeah. But that goes back to our first point, right? It's about the transparency. It's about the clarity. It's about walking the talk. If you say that the company is flexible for you to work from home, to pick up the kids, this and that, you need to have leaders that do it so that people understand that it's okay to do it too. Because at Microsoft, and I believe in other companies too, but Microsoft is the one that I know the most, it's not about how many hours you work. It's about deliver the right impact. It's not about doing the tasks. It's about the insight that you can extract from the work that you have done. It's about the impact that your actions have had. And so it's not about being there until 8 o'clock. That doesn't make sense. If you're not generating impact, might as well not be there.
Most people pretend that they are working, right? They pretend they are watching social media or doing other stuff.
But it's like, oh, yeah, it's 6 o'clock. Okay, I'm leaving now.
The boss already left, so I can leave as well. So, yeah.
And this is crazy. Warren Buffett has a nice sentence which he says, busy is the new stupid. You don't want to be busy. That's not what you want to be. You don't want to be busy. You want a free agenda to think strategically, to do things. You don't be stuck in meetings and just sitting there because you need to. You need to be free to think, to analyze strategy, to align directions. We were talking also at the beginning the importance of leadership, where I said that one of the biggest things for me, it's about that transparency and that guidance and that direction that the leader should give you, right? And if you want to think about these things, you need time. You don't want to be busy all the time. You need a free agenda to see clearly and to think about the path, the direction, and the structure, and the people that it will impact with your strategy.
When did you work at Deloitte?
I joined on the year of the tower, so that's 2001, okay. And I left 2005.
Okay. So I also work at Deloitte.
Oh.
Yeah. I work in 2008 in recruitment.
Okay.
That's for one cycle, one university cycle. And I clearly remember that. So we all have an idea what happens on Big Four environments, right? Especially in audit, where you work, where there's going to be that moment in the year where there's going to be late hours. You need to close the fiscal years of your clients, etc. But I clearly remember that from a recruitment perspective, we could not mention that was the reality. Although everyone knows, we could not create that image that you would need to work those lots of hours. Mm-hmm. But it's very interesting because I really know the reality, and I still feel like it's amazing how you turn around and said, no. I work in finance. I did audit in Big Four environment, but I still want to pick up my kids at school, my daughter at school.
Yes. Well, because at some point in time, but this was already Microsoft, okay? It wasn't in Deloitte. But yes, look, you really need to set the example. If you're sitting at the desk in the leadership team, if you're part of the board of directors, people look up to you. You're a leader in the organization. And especially the young generations, as I said before, they look at you as an example, as an inspiration. and they want to be inspired by a mother who picks up their kids. They don't want to be inspired by a lady who has never been a mother because she doesn't have time to be a mother or to take care of the kids, or they want to feel inspired and they want to look up to you as someone that they aspire to be. And you need to lead by example.
I understand the inspiration from below, but probably the issue is your peers at the same level and your manager. How would they see that?
Well, if you have Satya, as I was saying in the beginning, if you have Satya that has the same thing, he's the highest one. And if
I can do. Okay. So you were lucky to have Satya then to bring that shift.
Well, I don't know if it's lucky, because one of the things that people sometimes reach up to me and say, oh, but in the company that I work for, I would never. Look, if you're an amazing employee, if you are an excellent professional, if you have demonstrated the skills, and if the company is not giving you or allowing you to do such things, then you're in the wrong company. Move companies. Move to a company that will give you the flexibility, because great companies that give flexibility will most probably always welcome employees that are amazing. So sometimes if we don't fit in the right company, we need to move.
One of the things that you mentioned some minutes ago, and I didn't interrupt at that time, was the fact that you got used to plan your life, knowing that now I'm going to need to focus and do heavy work, but then later on, I can then have the free time that I need, right? And that's kind of a skill or an aptitude that it's good to start seeing on children on early age, because that prepares for that moment in life. And even during school life, there's going to be a moment where they need to study for tests, they need to study for the exams, the national exams, etc. So they need to be able, or the ones that have success are the ones that are able to delay the gratification, or know how to delay the pleasure, the immediate pleasure, and only have that later on. And some people are just incapable of doing it. They cannot look forward and say and think, well, now I'm going to study a whole week, I'm going to work a whole week, and later on I can have the pleasure. And I think all my life I've seen that in school and in professional life, you need to be able to do that. Whatever is happening around you, you need to unfocus on that, put the focus on the study, on the project, and then have the fun later on. And that really makes the difference between a good professional or dedicated professional to someone that is just playing around.
And that can also be translated for someone when we think about money. Most of the people, they say, I've worked my entire month, and so now I deserve to buy something for myself. And now I deserve to buy this new pair of shoes. And now I deserve to buy this new car. Now I deserve to buy and go to this nice restaurant. And so people who think short term in terms of money and career and aspirations are never as successful. If you're a good investor, you're going to think about long term. I am not going to do these things right now. I am going to save this money and I'm going to invest long term because I want to see the return in 20 years. But for most people, not going to a nice restaurant today, or not going for a new pair of tennis shoes or a high-end luxury car today, in exchange of having more money in 20 years, a lot of people are not willing to do this trade. And that's the reality in Portugal.
No one wants to delay the gratification.
Yes.
Especially if it's uncertain, right? If it's uncertain. Would I be alive to get that gratification? Maybe not. So let me have everything right now. If I ask you, who is more free? Those who earn a lot or those who need little?
Those who need little are always more free.
Why?
Always. And I'm going to tell you, when I love to travel, it's one of my big passions. I've been to, I think, 83 countries in my life. I want to visit 100 before I die if I can. So that's one of my big life plans. And then this year I'm going to go to Korea, South Korea, which I have never been in. I'm going to go to Palau, which is a country in Micronesia. And so I'm going to add 2 more. And when I travel, and I've traveled a lot, as I said, and I go to this, Philippines. I went to the Philippines, and I get to the Philippines, and you get to the capital city of the Philippines, which is Manila, and you see a lot of kids, and they are barefoot and they're asking you for money, and you can see in their faces and they're in despair, right? Because they're hungry and they're poor and they probably don't have families, and you can see how they are living, and they are scratching for something good to survive one more day in the big cities, right? And then when you think about in the same country, we would go to Surigao or Siergao or I don't know, remote places within the country, and you'd see the same kids, but they had bananas growing on the trees and they had everything that nature would give them, but they were so happy with so little. And their families were and they were cultivating their own food and they had a lot less, but you could see the smile in their faces. They were truly happy because they lived with little, but they didn't need anything else. They had their families, they had their little business, they had their little farming, and they were happy. And you'd see the same families in the capital city where they would work long hours, they couldn't take care of the kids, they had long commutes, get a little bit of money, and they were struggling. So people sometimes move to get more money and to achieve more. And they left the rural areas to go to the main cities to get a little bit more in life. Mm-hmm. But I am pretty sure they were a lot more happy when they were isolated in their own little places, in their own places. So this is just one example. If we want to extrapolate to other locations and to other broad instances, I think people who have less are always happy because humanly speaking, we are always eager for more. So there's no such thing as enough money. There's no such thing as enough wealth. People are always looking for more. I saw an image the other day, I don't know in what social media, but it was a boy sitting down in a bus stop looking at a boy in a bicycle. The one in the bicycle looked at the one in the motorcycle. The motorcycle looked at the car looked at the convertible looked at the helicopter. The helicopter looked at the plane, and it wouldn't stop.
So, keeps going, right?
It keeps going because the more you want, the more you ambition, and most people don't know when to put a cap. So I think people are more happy when
they have little.
Of course, there's a minimum that you need to have. Okay, let's just there's a minimum that you need to live, to survive, to have a house, to have, there's a minimum. But the problem is, if you get in the cycle, do you know when to stop?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people ask me a lot. Oh, Rita, but you drive a smart car. Why don't you have a bigger car, a better car? I don't need a better car. I love smart. And whenever I have time to buy a new Ferrari, I buy an apartment for rent. It's not a liability, it's an asset. And so, but most people can't shift and can't make this thinking. They would, of course, be driving around with the Ferrari and then hit the first pothole. With all these rains, the roads are full of potholes, and they would, crash the Ferrari, and that would be it.
Assuming that you have all those minimum covered, I would like to contest your idea a little bit, because I also heard the opposite version of what you just said, which is, so if you have less, you're limited to the options that you're less allowed to. But if you earn a lot and you have money, let's say, you have the capability of choosing among several options. So you can choose something that would allow you to be more happy. Does that make any sense for you, Rita?
I think it just grows and grows and grows, and then you don't know how to stop.
Same thing.
Yeah, because I'll give you an example. When I travel business, I travel economy, and you're happy because you're going to go there and you're going to meet a new place, and it's just a means to go there. And then you buy your first ticket to business, and then suddenly you go like, oh, she's much better. Now I want to travel business. And then eventually you are able to buy first class. You're like, I'm never going back. I'm never changing from first class. I am not moving from here. This is amazing. And then suddenly there's no first class tickets available and you need to go to economy. You are going to be upset. And you're going to be so upset. And you're going to complain the whole trip that you didn't get to travel business or you didn't travel first class. And you're not going to enjoy it because you've understood what happens on the other side. And so you cannot be happy on what you had before. something that you aspire to the most, which was traveling.
Mhm.
But you have ruined it because you've grown and now you need to go back and you can't be happy anymore.
Once you've seen the other side, it's difficult to go back.
Yes, you will never be as happy.
If you are forced to, because you lost.
No, it can happen that you're always there. But what if?
What if? Yes. And we know life is up and downs, up and downs.
And
If you have this life, right?
And being a CFO, I know how hard it is to cut costs. It's super hard to cut costs. Once your fixed costs increment in your personal life, it's very hard to make them go down because you're used to that lifestyle and you don't want to go back.
Mhm.
And so you always need to feed. It's like a big fireplace. You're used to that heat, and so you're going to have to continue to put, and you need to put, and you need to put more, because if it goes down, you're going to feel cold. So you're going to put more, and you're going to put more, and you're going to put more. And the more warm you are, the warmer you are, the more you want. And it's just going to go and go and go and go and go and go. It's,
Yep.
Yeah. So I think little, as long as you have the minimum, it's the best.
Mhm. Just a reminder for everyone listening, I've left the link for Rita's book in the video description. So if you're interested in exploring, feel free to go there and see. For now, the book is only in Portuguese. Are there
I
plans?
was going to say that currently in Portuguese, but I am, as we speak, writing the translation to English to be available to you in English.
Okay, so it's just a matter of when you are listening to this video, maybe eventually the book may exist already. Great. Why should an HR professional attend the Fórum de Líderes conference?
Well, because HR is no longer a support function, it's strategic. This conference brings together perspectives on leadership, culture, and talent that are essential for the world shaped by AI and because of all the changes that we have in human resources today. So make sure, if you're an HR professional or an architect or anyone who has an impact in the culture and defines performance on a company, you should attend.
Who will benefit the most from attending the Fórum de Líderes conference?
Ooh, I would say HR teams for sure, but anyone who's a leader in an organization, hence the name Fórum of Leaders. And for a leader, it doesn't mean that you're a boss. It doesn't mean that you're a manager. You can be someone who aspires to be a boss one day, but you are a leader because you inspire others. So anyone who wants to make a connection, who wants to learn more, and who wants to aspire to be a leader one day.
What will HR leaders miss if they don't attend the Fórum of Leaders conference?
Two things for sure. Insights from some of the most expert leaders in our conference. And second one, which I love the most, is connections. Meeting new people, making sure that we have the 30-second pitch in our mind, the elevator pitch to impact others, to connect, to make network, to expand our network. So I think those are the two things you're going to miss if you're not there. Hopefully you will, and we'll get to see you.
What is one practical insight that people will take away from your session?
There's going to be a lot of mixture between leadership and, of course, financial well-being. I love both topics. I think both topics are important. So it's going to be a mix and match between the two, and I'm going to love to partner and share the stage with Rui and Ricardo.
We are close to the end, Rita, and everyone that comes to this show, I like to ask for a recommendation, a person that has an interesting project profile to be the next guest. Who would you like to recommend?
I would recommend Mauro Xavier, who currently works for PwC on a European global kind of role. He was a great leader at Microsoft. Now he's currently at PwC, and I think it would be a really good talk to have with him.
Challenge accepted. Rita, I hope that I have the chance to meet you finally in person in the Fórum of Leaders conference. Shake your hand, take a selfie.
And do an autograph on the book.
Okay, I'll need to find one.
I'll take one, don't worry.
Thank you for that. And for everyone that is interested, just as well a reminder that the link for the subscribing or enrolling in the Fórum of Leaders conference is also in the video description. So don't forget to guarantee your place and your ticket as soon as possible.
And I hope to see you guys there.